the demonstration portion of the project is what quite a few people focus on primarily when we talk about the project in the media and to folks in the industry. And essentially, it gives us the opportunity, it gives us our target. That's where it starts. And if we're going to work on creating a new strategy of technology domestically, we need to know where we are. And if you don't know where you are, how can you figure out where you need to be? Currently, we're going after the primarily Chinese marketplace that's controlling about 60+% of the market, and they're all over the board. They're all the way down, in the 30-cent range a watt for some of their equipment. The really kind of lower grade manufacturers, and kind of normal and top tier stuff's in the 70-80 cent range at this point. Doesn't seem, in many ways, there's a lot of rhyme or reason to the pricing strategies that they come up with, the performance and all of that. So, the question is in the marketplace at this point is how do you grade the technologies? How do you determine what's a really good equipment? How do you know that the quality that you're hoping for is in it? How do you know what the production levels will realistically be before you buy it? And any other factors that might come into play. So production, price, quality, those are really the metrics that we need to focus on. So that's what the big field, the demonstration field, is really all about, is taking and putting 100 different technologies in one location, having the same contractor put them together, so that, and minimizing any potential differentiation and isolating it down as far as you possibly can to line sizes and construction techniques, so that it's totally just the technology, isolated. So you can get and if you do it on a size that's about half of a megawatt, which takes about 3 acres, you have enough differentiation in the weather pattern that if there's going to be dirt on the panels, if there's going to be bird droppings, if there's going to be pieces of straw that come down, if there's going to be grass growing, any potential irregularities that might pop up, they're going to pop up on a field that's 3 acres big. And when they get dirty a little bit and they produce a little less, that's a real world cycle. It's not having somebody out in a backyard polishing a panel every day to get the most optimum production out of it. That's not the real world. But that's what the manufacturers do typically, is that they have a number of panels someplace, they're polishing them up, and that's what they do. That's what they produce. So that, when they say, oh, this is what you'll get from our technology, that's what, in an isolated condition, one panel will produce in a very controlled setting. When it's in a field and all the real world weather issues and cleanliness issues and ground issues and all that comes into play, the production numbers are very different. But that's what you really get. So that's what the numbers should be based on. So putting 100 technologies in one place, 50 megawatts, each at a half megawatt, same contractors, all doing this, creates interesting data positions. And so we can factor all of these pieces together and come up with a comprehensive and cohesive grading system in conjunction with our educational partner, Texas A&M Central Texas. They have folks that work in their school that work on a program logic position, so they understand things. As kind of my way of looking at it is this bird in the sky, a butterfly in Chicago. If it flaps its wings in Chicago, does it have any effect here? If you take the computational pieces to it, every single variable, and you plug them into a computer, on a molecular level, it's going to have some kind of an effect here. How much? Who knows? Sometimes majorly. You just until you pop it in, the computers only just got to the point that they could even do this stuff in the last couple of years. They couldn't do so many calculations a second until like 3 or 4 years ago, where this stuff was even possible to figure out. What will come of that? I have no idea. You know, that's actually really exciting. It takes them 2 years to work one of those problems. So data access from the main field, all the data harvesting and stuff, coming up with a new matrix of grading now allows each of these technologies that we can put them in a scale. This is what this technology will produce. This is what this technology will produce. In one area, you know, at one time, certainly, and we'll run it for a year so that we come up with a number. This is what that technology produced in a year. We'll boil it down to 1 kilowatt so that there's a common denominator, so that you can use it as a homeowner, you could use it as a business owner, you could use it as a utility that wants to figure out what the deal is. So those kind of things come into play quite a bit. And if we can come up with that metric and come up with a program that grades it and accounts for some weather irregularities and solar irradiance changes, then essentially you can determine for your location exactly what this technology is going to produce real world with very little error rate. So that comes into, that adds a whole bunch of data calculations that, you know, you're a technology company, you know where you are in the marketplace. So if you're at the top of the marketplace, you can charge top dollar. If you're at the bottom of the marketplace, you've got to be able to manufacture so cheaply to sell into the marketplace effectively, because you're going to need to undercut everybody else price-wise because the performance and the quality aren't there. So it becomes a very fair schedule. So then American technologies have a place to potentially fit in. They can see where they need to be. They can see what market strategy they need to entertain to enable, you know, a realistic sales and production ratio. Right now, you know, virtually every American technology, because of the Chinese technologies producing so many panels so inexpensively and just flooding the market, they're getting no traction, and they can't prove that they are better than anything else, quality-wise, performance-wise, and all that. So it gives us the target, as I was kind of saying at the beginning. And so now we've got a grading method. We've got a way of comparing things. We're doing a lot of data analysis. So coming up with a whole bunch of different variables, hopefully, and strategies for going forward technologically, which technologies make the most sense for us to go forward. Ideally, that's kind of what the really heavy-duty computational analysis will tell us. You know, where we need to focus all of our attention is here, because this is the most sensical position for solar. It's going to be the easiest pathway to get to where we need to be in 20 years. So that's kind of the basis for a lot of that test. Then, but to keep the whole deal valid, you know, is kind of a whole second thought. Was, you know, how do we develop a grading program, and then we continually challenge that program? We've got to change the technologies every 2 years to keep the data live. It tells us that way we can look at it and say, okay, 2 years ago your technology did this and you were in 24th place. Today your technology does this and you're in 2nd place. So it can show growth curves and evaluations. There's a lot of stuff. Companies will come and go. There will be a lot of companies that go out of business. There will be a lot of companies that get added, you know, after a company goes out of business, and we've got to replace their technology. Because if a company goes out of business in the first 2 years, once we deploy their technology, if they go out of business, then we remove their technology from the field and replace it with another technology. So that it's a continually active, fresh list of technology companies that are being graded. There's going to be the opportunity for other companies to come in as well, that they can, if you aren't in the 100, or you want to come into the US market, or you want to start marketing in the global market, And you come in and you come to us and we deploy some of your technology for a fee. And we test it against the technologies and we show you, where you would be on the scale of the top 100 technologies, whether it's thin film, concentrated photovoltaics, lightly concentrated photovoltaics, crystalline, or organics, depending upon where you find yourself. We'll give you a rating. We'll tell you, okay, right now you're 7th in the market, So if you're 7th in the marketplace, that'll tell you a lot of price structuring. It'll tell you what you could potentially manufacture and sell realistically. If you're 1st in the market, it'll tell you what you can charge because you can see what the second person's doing. Obviously you're going to have to cover manufacturing costs, but it provides opportunities for new technologies that are groundbreaking in certain areas that do strategic jumps in cost reduction or in performance escalation. It allows those companies to jump to the front and for everybody to know about it. So if you've got a technology that you're manufacturing and all of a sudden it's the best technology in the world, it'll go to the number 1 on the list, and it'll be kind of like in the music industry when something shoots to the top of the chart with a bullet, becomes a better deal.